Throttle. And boy, oh boy, the world is a place where, how do I put this? White dudes get very, what is this term? I think it's a French term. Get their panties in a bunch when a black woman schools them, a black female professor, uh, which it's kind of enjoyable to no end to watch the squirming. It is a direct proportion between the amount of uncomfortable, angry white dudes who are lashing out on Twitter to how upsetting it must be to be schooled by a black woman. Khiara Bridges, a professor, just took Josh Hawley to task. It was very funny. She said she mentioned she was speaking inclusively. She was talking about people who have the capacity to get pregnant. This is the term she used repeatedly because, after all, the times they are changing, the world is changing. The concept of gender is not equal to the biology of sex. If we can get past this point in history, if we can accept that as the reality that it is, the measurable reality that that is, we can then acknowledge that, yes, abortion is a woman's issue. We can recognize that as well as the fact, as Khiara Bridges mentions, as well as the fact that there are other groups affected as well. It's very simple. It's a very simple concept. It's like, say, civil rights. Yes, the civil rights movement in America has been mainly for equal protection under the law and recognition for black folks. Yet, there are Hispanic people, indigenous folks. They all are included in this group. Non-white dude people, which we should recognize. That there are more than, say, like just white people in America. There are non-white dude people. There are people, and there are non-white dude people. I don't know what that means. What I'm saying is, we look at, in America especially, all men are created equal. You can argue, yes, okay, well, they meant everybody, every person. Sure, that's what we mean today. But did they mean that back then? I think they just meant men. Pretty sure they just meant men. And so the point is, we always look at things as basically there's the white guy version of everything. There's the white guy, and then there's the black version of the white thing. The white thing is the main thing. Generally, what I feel like is constantly. That's the concept. That's how we recognize. For instance, I went to a movie when I was a kid called Philadelphia. It starred our favorite Denzel Washington. Right? And my friend, when we were leaving the theater, she said, "Oh, Denzel Washington is truly the black version of Tom Cruise," which I found the comparison alarming, first of all, because for many reasons, but also because why does he got to be the black version of a white guy? Why can't the white guy be the white version of the black guy? But listen, I'll tell you why, because Tom Cruise ain't got half the smoothness of Denzel Washington. Hello, Judy. I see you in the Discord. I would love to talk to you about this issue, as you are you have worked for a long time at Planned Parenthood and witness and help these folks daily people with the capacity of becoming pregnant. And I just ate a bunch of peanuts, so I'm going to choke to death here. Judy, hello. How are you? Let's see if this is working. Properties. I might have to. Oh yeah, I gotta fix this Discord. This is not working. Are you there? Hello?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Judy, welcome to the show. It's been a day I woke up from a nap. I'm a little groggy. First thing I do is go on Twitter because that's very healthy. And then you start scrolling and you see all like these angry white guys, generally speaking. I saw a funny meme yesterday, and it was like people who are angry at, like women's issues or something like that. And it was just like a grid of white dudes wearing sunglasses. So that's generally the icon. It's always like kind of the same. It's to be expected at this point. So tell me, what was your reaction to today?
I think that it's just more of the same. They're trying to catch people in like, well, what defines a woman? And it's just like that we're well beyond that now. That's not even part of the conversation anymore. And I just feel like it's all trying to be like a gotcha when there's just so much more that just needs to happen.
Exactly. It's like ignoring the real issue here, which is bodily autonomy. So it just seems like it's just very infuriating because for me, it's a little bit triggering individually as a person because I'm a person of color, which is another way of saying colored person. But that's what we're doing now. Everybody who's brown is colored. We're doing that until it becomes offensive. We're going to do this. We're going to say people of color until 20 years from now when we go, what? People of color? Yeah, that's what we're doing now. Don't judge me. I'm a brown man. And what happens is oftentimes, like you see this, it's the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Josh Hawley, is up there, he doesn't know anything. He's kind of stupid. It's a bad faith argument. He's trying to do the gotcha, like you said. He's trying to say, oh, well, is this really a women's issue? It's like we're getting lost in the weeds here. And when he comes at her with the smugness, well, obviously, I'm right. How could a black woman be smarter than me? There's no possible way. So if I huff and puff, I'll show my superiority and whatever. Clearly, he's being schooled by a Berkeley professor who knows what the hell she's talking about. And it's just, but, it's weird and frustrating from my standpoint, because it's very clear that he's trying to prod and trying to be a jerk and tried to speak exclusively while she's trying to speak inclusively. And, people will react to his demeanor, the way he talked to her, as clearly he's on the high ground. He's right. He's the right guy because he's the white guy. That's how people will see it. And then it's infuriating because he's wrong, but people will just react to his behavior, his attitude. Hey, Ollie, I see you in there. Yeah. Hello. What do you think of Josh Hawley?
I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw you were broadcasting, so I thought I'd pop by.
I would love to have this conversation with you too. So come on down, everybody. Come on in. The door's open. Yeah. What did you think?
The next contestant on The Price is White.
You know what? You're all white, yeah, buddy. I don't know what that means. What would be the prizes on The Price is White?
I don't know, some mayonnaise and some mashed potatoes. Sorry, Judy, I talked over you, but I think you said the same thing.
Mayonnaise. A lifetime supply. I love that Black Jeopardy episode with Chasmin Boswick, and he said, and then the white lady will bring some potato salad with some weird ingredients like raisins. You have to see it.
I remember that one.
That was so good. Rest in peace. Today it's just weird. What are your initial reactions to that exchange?
Well, I mean, I echo a lot of what you guys are saying. Like clearly it was the bait. Like it was the that's bait gif from Mad Max Fury Road. Right. She recognized it. You could see her like eyes get wide because she's like, I'm gonna gird for a fight here, but I came prepared.
Yeah.
And then she just made him look like an idiot. It's kind of amazing.
It's great.
But I mean, it's no big surprise.
It's no big surprise. It's also interesting because, the technique for Hawley there is to upset and anger her, I'm sure. So he could be like, oh, look, clearly she's not upset and angry, so therefore I win. So we've got Bell Rex in the comments.
He's hysterical.
Yes, right, exactly.
She's being a hysterical black woman, Hawley gets to say.
And how could she be right about anything, even though she's a professor about this? So Balrex says, Bridges came across as utterly insane. I disagree. Balrex also says, this kind of nonsense is what made Dems lose Roe. I disagree with that also. There's other incompetence that led to Democrats losing Roe. Not just that. And it will lead to Trump 2024.
It was not enough people voting in 2016, but go on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everyone was warned, but whatever.
We've been warned. There was not enough, organization, so that's why. And it will lead to Trump 2024 wins. The Dems have to stop this kind of trans insanity. Okay, well, listen. To speak inclusively,
that commenter can tell the future. Because
I was just gonna say, wow, that's pretty good. I would love to know the stock.
Yeah, is Bitcoin tips. Finally going to go back up?
Yeah, give us your show us your portfolio, please. And also, I would like to see your record of accurate predictions.
He doesn't have to. He sold Bitcoin when it was up at 60,000, and he made his riches.
Right. Clearly, Balrex is winning at life, but. Yeah, mostly of what you said I disagree with. Here's why. I don't think she came across utterly insane. I thought she came across impassioned about an issue that does affect people other than, say, I don't know, maybe you. Is that too scary to think about? That other people, maybe other than you, Balrex, are affected by something? My favorite thing is when someone... Like on the internet, a couple of weeks ago, I got into an argument with somebody who was saying how structural racism doesn't exist. Turned out he was a white guy that I was arguing with.
What?
But yeah, shocking. And I said, hey, this just in, everybody. White guy says something that doesn't affect him does not exist. See? He solved it. Thank you. Clearly, this is news. Fantastic assessment there, guy on internet. Colleen,
you could just sort of cookie. You could sort of. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Did you have a joke? I would like to hear it, please.
Well, yeah. I was going to say you can sort of fortune cookie that logic with like instead of putting in bed at the end of any statement like that, you could just put for me.
For me, right? Well,
yeah. No, for me. Like structural racism is not a problem. For me.
For me.
In bed.
Yeah. Right. I love, though, the chiming in overall on the internet when it comes to race issues and gender issues and sex health issues, et cetera, when it's a white, straight dude on the internet. Generally speaking, those are the I would say, anecdotally, from what I see, that is a very enraged, and white women, older white women, generally get very enraged by these things that generally don't affect them personally. Maybe they're family members, maybe when at a different point in their life, but where they are now, they're just like, well, since I'm not directly affected, it does not exist. And I find that hard to be in a society together with, because it's all, society means social. It means we have to work together. Go ahead.
That's literally the thing I never understand about any of Republican or conservative person talking about their rights that they want to keep, right? Any right that a conservative wants to keep lately is something that not only affects them, but affects the people around them consistently, not wanting to wear a mask or needing to have guns, right? Those are things you can easily spread viruses to the community. You can, if someone using a gun is using it in a way to harm people, it will affect the community. You know what I'm saying? Where usually people who are Democratic or maybe a little less conservative try to keep the rights for people, not just for them, right? They're looking at the community.
Yeah.
And so I just don't understand how they feel like their individual needs are the only thing that matter. And
they are definitely not Spock in this scenario.
And that it makes sense for the government to keep only the personal needs that they want and not think about the community as a whole. Like, I will just never understand that.
Isn't it ironic, said Alanis Morissette, that the government, the people who are trying to, quote, run society, a society run by we the people, interestingly enough, do not care about other people. How does this work? How do we do this together? It seems like seems counterproductive, and it is proving to be counterproductive, I think. Colleen, what do you think? Colleen, I see you.
Well,
Don't spoil it.
we I actually would have appreciated a warning before Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh wait, time out. Do not spoil it. I know.
Hey, I haven't
Judy
seen no
saw
spoilers.
it. Judy saw it.
Yeah, that's
Ollie
all
hasn't
I'm
seen it.
saying. That's all I'm saying.
That better be all you're saying,
I'm
because
a
I've seen
pure
it.
red-blooded American male with a family I haven't got to the theaters yet.
Aw.
Yeah.
You're gonna hate it. Don't go see it. No, I'm kidding.
What are you doing?
I'm totally kidding.
Better than
Of course, I'm
that.
going to like it. How could you? It's at the
Personally.
bare minimum, I'm going to laugh.
Yes.
Oh,
Of course, because it's
there's a certain bit that, oh man, it was great.
I'm
It's
very
fine.
excited to be
Khalid?
unspoiled, but for now,
We'll talk
keep
about
your
it
traps shut.
on a spoiler show, Khalid. We will not talk about it now. But Khalid, I imagine you were watching Josh Hawley do his.
Well, apparently we sent basically the same, like, mine didn't have as many eloquent words as yours did, but I
put words in
posted
mine.
to my Instagram stories apparently the same time you tweeted about the same thing about Josh Hawley.
Yes, we were. I'm sure you and I and a lot of people were infuriated at the at just the smugness of this senator. We want to call him.
Yeah, I think he defeated Claire McCaskill, who is a genuinely good egg.
Well,
She's a good one.
I should hope the people that can see through Hawley's BS, but I don't think people will or do, because what he relies on is artifice. This is what
He's
he
an
relies
extra
on.
from The Handmaid's Tale. He really is.
Oh yeah, he's like a
one of those-
lead.
Oh,
In
no. Are you kidding me? He thinks he's a lead,
Oh,
but
right,
he
yeah, you're
doesn't
right.
have the gravitas, and that's what
Yeah.
speaks so poorly of the people who vote for him.
That's exactly it. He doesn't have the gravitas, but he has artifice, and he tries to push that artifice.
Yeah,
He's just like,
he does it. He thinks he does.
I'm sure in his
But he
world, nobody
doesn't.
ever questioned white guy. He's like, I'm white guy. I say thing, you listen, because I'm white guy. I imagine that's his world.
Well, he probably lives near, what's that Missouri town where they have all those Christian-based
Bumble
shows?
F.
You.
No, I don't. The Christian base, where is that? St. Louis,
It's in Missouri.
Kansas City.
Oh, I was thinking of Colorado Springs, where like focus
Oh
on
my
family is. But
God,
is there one in
they're-
Missouri too?
They're everywhere.
Wait, I mean, there's probably one in Missouri. I mean, there's a market for that in every state.
It's like northern Missouri. It's like a lot of like the Christian-based white stand-up comics perform there. Like Roy, whatever his name was.
Define a lot. In that context.
A
Right.
lot.
Where's
It's
the-
considered Branson,
Roy-
Branson, Missouri.
Branson. Charles Branson. Judy, what were you saying?
No, I just was wondering if I totally forget, but there's and I'm saying this with air quotes, right? Like, there's a
can see them.
museum, a Christian museum that they
In
like
Colorado.
rebuilt the Ark
Oh, yes.
according to
Ken
the
Ham.
scientific and mathematical, all quotes,
Yeah.
information from the Bible.
They use those terms very loosely and incorrectly, totally. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, there's numbers involved, so therefore it's math. That's how it.
Hey, Hey,
Yeah,
Ollie,
but
I do.
was created.
I'm a Christian scientist.
You know how they did. Oh,
I know.
I don't even.
Yeah, tell that to
no,
James Hetfield's mother. Also, I know that's a listen. James Hetfield. Let me just go.
Oh, I
on
know.
rock
I
and-
know Christian scientists. The main formula
No, I
is
do
y
too.
equals mx plus bs.
I remember.
That is a straight line
when,
to bullshit. It's not.
I remember when I was a kid, and my neighbor friends, we were reading like magazines we had just gotten that described the Olympic gymnasts, and I remember when my friend goes, "Shannon Miller is a Christian Scientist," and we were like 10 years old. And
they study
just,
robes and things, I guess. I don't know. They study how wine turns into water, turns into wine. The transmogrification of the Eucharist.
They don't believe in modern science. Sorry, they don't believe in modern science.
They're using the term science wrong. Also, same thing with Scientology, which is so funny because ology being the study of and science alluding to science, you put those two words together and they mean nothing. Scientology. So
it's basically toxic psychology.
Oh yes, I agree with that for sure. Judy.
Yeah, they're anti-psychology, but it's like, thou doth protest too much.
Judy, you can probably speak to this better than I assume a lot of us, because you work at Planned Parenthood. Now, the professor said that type of language leads to violence, the transphobic nature of the questioning that Josh Hawley was definitely doing. Let's not mince words here. He was definitely trying to exclude folks. Listen, and it was really smart that the professor said, look, I'm talking inclusively. This is a women's issue, yes, but that does not mutually exclude the fact that other folks who are not gendered as women are affected. Now, do you have any anything you could educate us about that, Judy?
Well, it leads to not only violence in terms of actual physical violence towards people. That definitely does happen, right? We know that trans women of color are one of the highest communities that are targeted violently in general. But it also leads to like medical discrimination, which could lead to folks not getting the care that they need, and then them becoming sick or dying. So it's not just like physical violence, but because of health disparities within the medical system for trans people and also for people of color, it is affecting people's lives, literally.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I would say the abortion being banned in many parts of the country outright, it does lead to violence, physical, actual violence and death that is unwarranted, unnecessary, and completely unacceptable. And
right.
Yeah, so it's just if we can't sort of recognize, not even sort of, just if we can't recognize that, what are we doing here? What are we doing, folks? Come on, let's have a conversation.
If you don't mind,
I don't mind at all.
I'm sorry. I read an op-ed early this morning from Dean Obadala, who, like, sometimes there are just like nitpicking things I don't agree with, but whatever. That's part of, what makes a functional government is having people even within the same party you don't agree with.
Scrutinize the evidence. Yes, I agree.
He was saying that the headline of it, which I know was for clicks, but it delivered, was that the GOP has left Adam Kinzinger for dead. And he said that
the only rational GOP guy?
Well, this,
Am I
you
thinking
know
of the
what's
same guy?
sad? It's that I know a lot of them are, but they are choosing this path. Yeah, talk about pro-choice.
You know, what's interesting is that I used to often go to the New York State legislature to talk to the New York State Congress about sex ed and the need for medically accurate sex education, right? And it was always so interesting because a lot of Republicans that we would meet with would say, I'm pro-choice, but often
But
I have to like toe a certain line because of my constituents.
Oh, they hate
Right.
public education, especially.
And
In New York.
so like behind the scenes they would work with other folks, but they could never let their constituents know that they were really supporting certain things.
Kind of like Kirsten Gillibrand.
No, Kirsten Gillibrand is never she's always been outright and pro-choice. And this is only for New York State, I'm just saying, but I know that there were people who, politicians who would be pro-choice or would at least understood the need for it, but now, like you're saying, Colleen, like they're not speaking out, they're kind of choosing
Right.
this other path, or at least choosing to not speak out against those who truly are just spewing hatred and wanting to take rights away.
Yeah, again, that seems like what the conservative, I don't even know what you call them anymore, but their platform is that in order to, protect their rights, it requires taking the rights away from somebody else.
I mean, I think that's how they feel. I feel like generally the folks who benefit most in American society, that being older white dudes, straight white dudes, there's this idea, or this feeling at least, that because other people are advocating for equality, that there's some kind of threat or like it means that their rights will be taken away. It's like, no, just asking for the same ones. Just ask you to be treated the same. But that's somehow so threatening to folks, and
literally it will not do anything to make their lives worse.
Yeah, I actually have a funny. This is just funny. It's sort of a white guy explaining thing that happened over the weekend. I was at the beach and I broke an umbrella. I did the umbrella wrong. I broke it. It snapped. See? And I said, "Oh, it's snapped. I broke it. I'll get you a new one." But then there was a white guy, and he's like, "Let me see it." And then he says, "Oh, yes, you could glue this." And I said, "No, the torque will just shear off immediately. There's no gluing this. You'd have to get a new one." And then he said, "Yes, correct. You are correct. This is broken." And I was like, Thanks a lot for that." I literally just said that. But that's one of those. It's one of those instances where you're just like, I guess that's something that you feel social pressure to engage in right now. I'll let you do the little dance, but I'll also make you look stupid a little bit because that's my thing. But anyway,
Harry, I want to push back very
From the
briefly, and I'm
Midwest.
not saying you're wrong, but I do want to say, as token white guy,
yeah, you got to.
I was
Let me
walking around with the fam.
Explain to
Go
me
ahead.
what I did wrong. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you didn't know anything? Fucking yeah. No, I was just for as a white guy, just put the for me at the end of this like a fortune cookie. I was walking around with the fam, and we encountered like some kids with their grandparents on like a hike, and the kid had some toy they'd gotten from a Happy Meal or something, and he said it's broken, and I looked at it and I grabbed it and I was able to fix it for the little kid because it was like a little
glad that I was
pin
being
in the wrong
compared
place.
to a Happy Meal toy little child. and not an adult.
You are.
man.
You are a
And
little
that
child.
is
Is what I'm trying to say.
very white. That is very white that you were able to like debate that family split.
Thanks for this analogy that I'm the young child and you
what
are
I'm
the
saying.
adult. Exactly. I see what you
No,
did
no, no. I obviously, I'm not trying to contradict you. That reminded me of that. And I'm like, oh crap. AITA? What's the Reddit thing? Am I the jerk? Am I the beephole?
Yeah, because
I guess in that
I'm a
situation
fully
I was, but
grown
I
adult
did fix
man
it.
who, listen, things can be fixable. I, in fact, will fix this umbrella by buying a smaller piece of PVC and Gorilla Gluing it inside the umbrella and reattaching it. This is how I will fix it. However, I did
Well,
that's the
buy
only sensible thing.
And I will actually you because I am a white woman.
a new one. Yeah.
Can I will actually you and say maybe try doing a hairdryer on it to fuse it?
You see, it's an 8-foot umbrella with a screw bottom. It's a giant
I know it's
apparatus.
It's an idiotic.
Ari.
suggestion.
Ari, I'm
explaining
so
this.
white that my blood type is PVC. Damn it, I messed it.
I actually saw something today, Ollie. It was I sent earlier today, ladies and gentlemen. I sent Ollie a guy who does YouTube stories that are like little science quirks, little things you can find around. I don't know if you can find them around the house, but these little facts of nature, physics, and stuff. And one of them I saw later. It was the whitest substance known to man, and I said that's whiter than Rick Astley. Also, anyway, Judy. Listen, it was a pretty cool object he had. It was very. It looked like
I'm
blindingly
excited to check
white.
it out.
Yeah, check it out. But I figured that was apropos. But,
I think the
for
takeaway
sure.
here is don't offer to fix something unless it's a child.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
I
I realize I'm also getting insecure and defensive because I do that to Beth a lot, and she drives her absolutely nuts. So I'm like, oh, let me see if I can fix it. So
Are you
She
from the
will-
Midwest?
I live in the Midwest.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
I would like to say though.
I'm from
Yeah.
and living in the Midwest, and that is a very Midwest like approach to things.
Fair, but I'm
No,
from
I mean,
I'm from the East Coast, so I'm more of
What's
an
up, Ange?
a-hole than a Midwesterner.
I would like to say,
dude, I've
my
always
own
called
defense.
South Bend like the northern Indiana, the Jersey of the Midwest.
I think that's entirely fair.
whoa. Jersey is like the Staten Island of Northeast. Also,
I'm not. I don't say that
I'm
unless I
Staten
feel.
Island. No, just kidding.
yeah.
No, I
Um,
don't say that unless I feel entirely sure.
Circling back
Anyways.
to white splaining, the guy at the beach did the thing. Ollie, all I have to say to you is he had Ian vibes. That's all I have to say to you.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm not,
So-
dude. Your judgment on this is 100% on. I just got defensive. That's all.
Don't get defensive. Don't get defensive. Stop it. Stop being defensive.
I'm not. You're
Now.
defensive.
No, I'm not. I'm never defensive. What are you talking about?
You're the
Just
one.
show me one time.
I'm not being defensive.
You're
take
the one who's
offense to that.
defensive. I'm offended. Ange, what's up, Ange? Did you see Professor? What's her last name? I'm sorry, I lost the thread here.
Hey,
Professor
Ann.
Berkeley. She was schooling our. I wouldn't call him. How did Hawley become a senator? Can we? So he defeated who?
I think he defeated Claire McCaskill because she was actually a well-informed woman who could, who loved baseball, but also loved women's rights.
Yeah.
She's on MSNBC a lot and a frequent Morning Joe contributor.
Yeah,
McCaskill.
and I love how she has so many dishes in her kitchen. Like, I
did not
relate
know
to that hardcore.
It's
Well, Ange
Professor
says-
Bridges.
Professor Bridges, thank you. Yes. So, Ange, this is the exchange that we're talking about. Let me just play it for you.
You've referred to people with a capacity for
Senator
pregnancy.
Hawley and
Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence.
And now the outrage apparently is the two-sided. People are rushing to Hawley's, not defense, but they're saying that he won the exchange versus Professor Bridges winning the exchange, because everything's about winning in our society.
How is it supposed to go?
Clearly, he's trying to, he's creating a line of questioning that's going to try to obscure the issue when she's just speaking inclusively. She's just talking about bodily autonomy, and it is a woman's issue, but also it includes other groups. And it's a very simple thought. Go ahead. But it's transphobic because he's like trying to deny those groups of people. Clearly.
But I think it was bullshit that these hearings were going on at the same time as the 1-6 hearings. And Hawley was the first person in Congress to object to the results of the 2020 election.
Yeah. With his fist in the air and all that.
By the way, AOC correctly pointed out that he's like, how is that taken as a call to violence? And it's like, you're the guy with the fist, man.
Well, that's, again, the Adam Kinzinger stuff. To say that you hope he gets terminal cancer, that's a special kind of evil.
Yeah. That's a bad man.
And saying that, writing a letter to his wife saying it's going to take some time, but eventually your husband will be executed, and you and your child would join him in hell.
Hell doesn't exist.
Who
so
wrote
that's
that?
Stupid. The Lorax.
Who said that to Kinzinger?
There have been just...
Oh, was this like he released some like the voicemails he got or whatever?
Yeah, but there was actually a handwritten letter sent to their home.
Yeah.
As well.
Wow. Did you write that letter, Colleen?
Was he able to finish his dessert?
His dessert being that of tiramisu. Ange says, I legit have a story. I read that backwards. That backs her up being right and well-spoken in her wording. Yes, I'm not quite sure what your story is, but yeah, this is how I perceive this exchange. There's someone who clearly sees what Hawley is doing. Professor Bridges sees what Hawley is doing. Says, hey, look, I see what you're doing. Let's not do this because this is not what this is about. We're talking about bodily autonomy. And this is what we should, we can refer to it as. It is a women's issue. And it's also other folks who do not consider themselves, they consider themselves non-binary and men who also have the capacity to get pregnant, which is what the professor was saying. And then it turns out like everybody is focusing on that part of the discussion and making her, or saying like Balrek said that she came off utterly insane. It's like, no, let's look, I'm just including these groups. And you are deliberately trying to exclude these groups, which is transphobic.
There are two
what
things.
happens
Go ahead, Judy.
that it's the fear that people will never be able to say the word women again, and it's just like, where is that coming from? Just because you want to be inclusive in the terminology that you're using for a certain for whatever, for anything, doesn't mean that, like, when you're referring to someone individually, right? Like, if they identify as woman, you're gonna say woman, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of fear of them trying to take away, or not them, about just like certain things being taken away from them, when it's really saying, let's include folks, right?
Yes.
So they're thinking that they're getting excluded when it's about inclusion, and it's just mind-boggling that they can't see that.
Yeah.
A couple things.
I mean, they do see that. They just deny
Christo-fascist
it.
creepiers. Oh, go ahead.
Well, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
true.
I'm saying it's that's the bad faith part. They do see what's going on here, but they're trying to stick up for people who are trying to hold on to some transphobic relic of the past or whatever. They're just trying to advance that dialogue, or at least preserve it somehow. It's a very Christian bigoted thing, and they want to play into that. What were you gonna say, Ollie?
Well, if you're choosing your gender, God chose your gender. So if you're choosing your gender, you're going against God's will. That's the Christian part of it. You're not the one who decides. God decides. So that's the Christian element of it. And then the conservative angle is the, like, women don't get to decide what they want to do with their lives. They have to be less than, or maybe, they have to be like birthing pods, basically. So the merger of those two things is where we are now with the American right. I mean, this was the what is a woman thing, it was sort of like catalyzed in the Ketanji Jackson Brown hearings, because I think Hawley, maybe someone asked, like, what is a woman? And she wouldn't answer, because that was like the only thing they could get a soundbite for Fox News on, because she was so eminently qualified.
Right.
And the whole, like, well, would you you're a black woman, how come you're not looking at white men for the Supreme Court? Like, LOL, come on. But the what is a woman thing actually got some traction, so they went with that, combined with like Matt Walsh put out a movie, and now he's talking with J.K. Rowling on Twitter, and that just kind of like been one of the attacks when all else fails, is like, well, now that black people have rights, let's kick the even lower person on the totem pole. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, I hate that Matt Walsh is more well known than the amazing actor, comedian, writer Matt Walsh.
Yes, it's tragic. It's tragic. What a terrible name or what an awful tragedy to share a name with someone like that. He also is terrified of spiders, which is hilarious to me. And every time he tries to butch up, I always like to post the Facebook post of him like standing on a chair trying to vacuum up a spider in his house.
Oh, hey, my old neighbors, they
I'm Googling
had
Matt Walsh. Okay, go ahead.
But they had like who sounded like a sniveling little shit, who was working for the Republican Party and was obsessed with. He didn't even care that it was Trump. He just wanted to be part of a Republican administration. He pet sat Reince Priebus's bearded dragon to try to get in good with the administration.
The what?
Could it fly?
It's a bearded dragon.
It's a reptile. It's a very cute reptile.
It is. Like, bearded dragons are great. I hate that. I'm not trying to besmirch their great name, but but yeah, like when my mom told me in front of this guy's mother that Reince Priebus had a bearded dragon, I blurted out, "Of course he does."
Reince Priebus sounds like a condition. Sounds like I got a condition. I got Reince Priebus in my lower abdomen.
Yeah, but he really did run away and disappear.
Oh, thankfully. Who names?
Oh man, I ate some bad Reince Priebus.
Yeah, and I got a case of Temecula on the side. Temecula is a place in California. It's not a condition, but it sounds like it.
Oh man, I ate some bad Sean Spicer and got some Reince Priebus.
Oh yeah, you're gonna want to drink a lot of water and get that out. That's unfortunate.
I want there'd be a dateline about where Reince Priebus is.
I mean, I
Where
don't
in the-
care. Screw that guy.
Where in the world
Yeah,
is...
but I just
In the
wouldn't
world
think-
is Reince
Yeah.
Priebus.
Oh,
Hey, Eric,
Like
a
when he
question
was
for you.
Question.
Call back.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah.
Which is funnier? Kavanaugh couldn't eat his tiramisu or tiramisu.
Oh, I like the
tyranny. Oh,
There you go.
tyranny,
It's
Sue.
an open question.
Oh, I
Tyranny
thought you
Sue.
meant like tier, like TEAR. But tyranny. Yeah, that's good.
Oh,
That is
I
better.
thought you meant tier like T
Like he's
IUR.
Oh yeah, every tier
I mean, here's the thing.
Or
This is options for
TIR,
days.
Whatever.
we do.
I did mean TYRANNYSU.
I
Yes.
gotcha.
Tyranny. Sue.
It's a thinker.
That's very funny.
I'm gonna go with tiramisu. It sounds better now that I've said it out loud.
That's
It does
that's
sound
great.
good. Yes.
That's like
That's the one.
that's better. That's better than the Ben and Jerry's flavors that they had in Avengers: Infinity War.
Hunka burning Hulk or whatever. Hulka burning love. That's it.
No,
Hunka
Hulk
Hulk.
burning fudge.
Fudge. My bad. That sounds delicious though. You know, I just saw a movie. I just
I
saw
know,
What We Do
the
in the
other one
Shadows.
I can't remember.
I was watching the series
What
What We
you-
Do in the
what?
Shadows. I
You
was watching it.
finally watched it?
Yeah, I seen the first season and this half of the second season. It's funny. It's real funny.
I'm
And
so happy.
Benedict Wong was in. You know, speaking of
Yeah.
the
I
Sorcerer
know.
Supreme.
He's everywhere.
He was in that really funny episode, and he was ridiculous in it. All hail
Nice.
Benedict
Oh,
Wong.
is that a spoiler? Is that a spoiler? I'm sorry.
Was it? What did you? No, wait! Don't say it. It might. I don't think any of us heard it, so that's good. Let's see. Are you talking about the show?
Oh, was that a spoiler? I was paying attention to something else. Thank goodness.
Hopefully.
And you can't
Thank you.
rewind Discord, can
Okay,
you?
so I'm the only one
No.
who spoils things.
Got it.
Well, you have a
I will
penchant.
not
You have a
leave. I will
talent.
not leave meat out at your house.
Yeah, that would not go well. Yeah.
I have to
Well,
head out.
okay.
But I'm glad I got to join the group for a little bit.
I'm glad you got to be here too.
not- Yes, I just want to throw this out here just in case anyone is listening to this later on, right, as your podcast. Anything I say on here is as me, Judy DiMatteo. I am not representing Planned Parenthood, even though I'm a Planned Parenthood employee. Because, you know,
Fair enough. No, that's good.
I don't represent Planned Parenthood.
This is Judy's opinion.
But I might have some knowledge because of what I do, right? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
Fair enough.
you're so like lovely and being that responsible.
Yeah, we appreciate your
Well, thank you.
experience and your know-how
All
and
right.
whatnot. Thank you, Judy. The person, Judy DiMatteo, not the entity, Planned Parenthood. Just so we know.
All right. Everyone
Yeah.
have a good night.
You have a good night. This is the Aristotle
Judy.
Full Throttle Show. I do not represent Aristotle Full Throttle. Wait, I do. God damn it. Oh, these are my opinions. And they are represented.
I gotta follow Judy's lead out the door here too. I got family dinner time coming up.
Well, that's fair enough.
We
and
eat
thank you
early
for
in this
joining.
house. Yeah, little kids.
We are
Well,
wrapping up the
medium kids,
discussion.
whatever.
Medium kids. Yeah, your kids are
Okay.
medium size now. They're
They're,
medium. They're
they're
almost.
quite medium.
They're medium. They're medium.
They're
men.
almost supersized.
There will be one day.
Yeah.
But thank you for the conversation. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up this conversation. Generally speaking, what affected me by this this exchange is just the hubris and the smugness of Senator Hawley being taken to task, but him just relying on, but I'm white guy huffing and puffing about this. That must mean I'm right. And that's just not the case, in my view. Also, in reality, I think, though, there will be a strong support of Josh Hawley based upon his his smug attitude, because people react to that. They think, oh, he's smug, he must be right. I like that he was showing this black woman professor what for, when in reality, let's look at what they were saying. Let's look at it on paper. And it's just to lead someone into a I don't want to say corner, because the professor clearly knew what she was talking about. But to emphasize or focus on the fact that she's like, hey, look, this is transphobic, what you're saying, and also this affects people in real life, just like the abortion debate affects people in real life, physically. So violence is violence. Hey, Ollie, go see Crimes of the Future. It's an interesting movie.
What is that?
Well, actually, you might not like it. I was going to say History of Violence. It's body.
Is it Cheryl?
Is it Cheryl? I would like to say that it is that David Cronenberg does not consider, this is a David Cronenberg movie called Crimes of the Future. He doesn't consider himself a horror film director. He says, look, I include these things in the movie. And if you look at the movies and look at the kind of startling imagery that he has in the movies, it is actually essential to what's going on in the story. So
sure.
It's not
Dude,
like
I just finished season 3 of The Boys, so I'm ready.
Oh yeah. I got to episode 3.5 last night, and I fell asleep, but it's good. This season's pretty good.
It's definitely the best season. It's the best season by far, I think.
And so much gross out stuff that I'm like, I don't know how
that's
many
what
of
I'm
these
saying.
in a
So
row I can do.
I should be prepped for Cronenberg now, for a Cronen party.
Yes. Cronenberg
and
makes
eat a
you
big
feel
old
weird
messy Cronenberger.
Well, you know, on The Boys, they'll just like keep the camera on like a really disgusting image, and they'll just keep it going. Yes. It's gratuitous, but it's like gratuitously on purpose, which is kind of a weird statement. But in Cronenberg movies, it's very like it's reliant. The characters are reliant. The story is reliant on these things. Whereas in a lot of horror movies, horror directors just go, hey, let's do something new that's gross. Whereas David Cronenberg's like, let's do something new that's important to the story. So that I can have a discussion about that. Heard. Thank you.
I will check it out, though. I definitely will.
Cool. Maybe not. History of Violence, though, I think is a better movie and doesn't really have too much gross out stuff. But yeah,
that's the Vigo one.
They're all Vigo movies. So
okay.
He's great. He's great. Crimes of the Future, weird and unsettling, but internally logical, which is cool. So check it out. Thank you, Ollie, for joining us. And
it was great, man. Always good to hear your voice.
Well, it's always good to hear your voice and have a debate and to be compared to a child in a Happy Meal.
You know what you should do? You should make me feel bad about it repeatedly for the next 5 to 10 years.
I will probably forget it because I can't stay mad at you for more than 6 hours.
All right, I'll talk to you in 6 hours and 5 minutes.
Okay, bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Ange. Thank you for joining the chat. If you guys missed it, you could hear this on the podcast on Spotify or anywhere you get podcasts. It's the Aristotle Full Throttle Show. Please tune in. Usually, I might pare back the shows to about 2 or 3 a week, just because of the nature of where I am at in the world. I might be traveling and redevising some of the things on this channel. I do want to do some more narrative stuff, more important videos that are socially, that say something with the voice of somebody who's a brown person in America. You know, I think it's important to, hey, look, you know, it's not all just one way. I think it's really important that Hollywood recognizes the different voices. That's why people are like, the Academy isn't accepting submissions unless 60% of the cast and crew is minority. And it's like, okay, well, now let's start hearing stories about other folks' point of view. And, yeah, I'm a bit groggy. I woke up from a nap to all this, and I'm kind of like just all over the place a little bit. It's hard to formulate thoughts. I'm going to go into my pain chair after this. If you saw Crimes of the Future, you know what I'm talking about. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm Aristotle Full Throttle, and Yeah, it's been an hour, right?